There we go. Well, welcome back everyone to the Nutrition Lab podcast. I am your host, Michelle Rawls, owner and founder of Show Me Nourish, the Nutrition Lab podcast. So thank you so much for being with us this evening. Welcome back, YouTube. We have two very special people with us tonight, and our topic tonight is who do you trust when everybody has something to sell? This is going to be an interesting conversation tonight. So, welcome back again to the Nutrition Lab podcast. If you spent more than 5 minutes scrolling through social media, walking down a grocery store aisle, listening to the health advice lately, you've probably felt the exact same frustration. I know I have, and I know my co hosts have as well. We are completely drowning in noise every single day. We are bombarded with conflicting headlines, breakthrough wellness trends, and absolute certainties. So, there's a massive elephant in the room that we need to address, and we're going to talk about that tonight. How do you know what to believe when everybody has something to sell? We aren't here to give you another magic pill when we aren't here to pick up a tribe. We are here to talk about a true discernment. All right. So, joining me tonight, I want to introduce someone who you all know from the Mindful Nuggets podcast. My co host on the Mindful Nuggets podcast has so graciously said yes, he will join me tonight on this conversation. He has a lot that he can offer in on this conversation tonight. So, welcome, Mr. William Goodwin, to the Nutrition Lab tonight. Would you please come in and let everybody know who you are? Tell them a little bit about you and just exactly how this is going to be a very great conversation tonight.
Michelle, thank you for inviting me. We always enjoy good conversations. We ask a lot of questions and we give mindful thought to a lot of these things that are around us and why they are and are they good for us. And I'm like you from a background that I completely collapsed. I've lost my liver and my kidney. And fortunately for modern medicine, in this case, there were some things that did prevent me from dying. But also, I learned a great lesson from that as well. Don't trust everything that's out there either, because you don't know the root of where it comes from. And if it's really good for you, if it's really not. But one thing I do know, everything that God made is good for you. If you learn how to read the labels and extract what you need to discern what you need. So thank you again, Michelle.
Yes, thank you so much for being here. I'm so grateful that you're here. And as you guys know, my co-host that's with me each and every week, Miss Emilie White. Emilie, take a few minutes to say hello and let everybody know tonight who you are and what we're going to continue this conversation with tonight.
Thank you, Michelle. Glad to be here like always. I love it. So I am ready to just help people clear out the junk from their lives and get their homes back to be healthy again. Them and their, kids, their fur babies, all that stuff. Like you said, we got to read the labels, and you can't trust everything you hear now on the internet because a lot of things are AI and they're fake. And it's just, yeah, it's really, really hard to figure out, who to trust. And I'm hoping that we can clear that up for everybody today.
Even the people are AI generated a lot of time, so it's just hard to decipher these days.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's a great piece of information and conversation that we need to have tonight. So let's kick this off. In the US alone, the supplement industry generates tens of billions of dollars, right? Annually, tens of billions of dollars, with over 70% of American adults taking some form of supplement, right? Meanwhile, though, the global pharmaceutical industry brings in over $1.4 trillion every single year. So I kind of want to dive into the conversation about big pharma tonight and have this, wholesome, great conversation, but make sure that we get back to where we really need to be, which is in food, in the garden. William and I spoke upon this Monday night in the Mindful Nuggets podcast, right? Why we need to
Absolutely.
be in the discernment of the garden, right? Okay, so um, every pharmaceutical drug, maybe not, let's have that conversation, is flawless, or nor does it mean every supplement's useless, right? So I'm not saying that every supplement out here is a useless product or is not possible to have some benefits to it. We're going to talk about this. This is everything we're going to talk about tonight. So we're going to dive in. And then next week, guys, out here on YouTube, we've got somebody joining us to actually speak upon the pharmaceutical industry. And I'm already inviting William and Emilie to come back next week and be a part of that podcast. So make sure that you have subscribed here at the Nutrition Lab so that you can follow up on this conversation next week. Okay, so let's begin, guys. Let's just start. Okay. The FDA. Let's have this. Strictly requires prescription drugs to go through a formal pre-market review process, right? They've got to do a preview, they've got to test it, they've got to have the studies. And this goes through quite an intricate years of processing, or is supposed to go through many years of processing. Now, we know that when COVID hit and the shots were all coming out, we know that that didn't go through several years of processing, right? So I would really like to take the conversation to where we are right now in the pharmaceutical industry. How much of big pharma is really controlling what we do today?
Well, I would say if my history is right, there wasn't big pharma earlier on. It's like 1910. It's like 10% of the influence, and also in the indoctrination of how the practice of medicine. Today, I would, if I was to guess, I hadn't looked up the stat, but I would say it's at least 90% and dictates the operative procedures of what a patient receives. For example, the doctor says you need to take a statin, cholesterol's up, or you got calcification in the arteries. But is that the best choice? Now, statins do have a bunch of data points that sustains it reduces heart risk. But is there a better way? I know there's natural oils, omega-3s and things like that reduce oxidation in your system, and that can actually get a better result. Instead of just focusing on a symptom, we're focusing on a root. And that's where I'd like to go. And everything I look at is, what is the root? How does it impact you? There are some things that are good in pharmaceuticals that are needed in, pain management for one. There's other things that are needed, but there's also things that, are we getting the best health care just because somebody says this is what you should get? And then we trust that information and we don't question it.
Why is it that we don't question it, William? Why do you think we don't question what is good for us out there today? Are we just in such a belief that there's just no way our government could possibly have any kind of say in how the food is actually made, or the fact that the pharmaceutical industry has a hand in how the food is made in order to keep us sick, in order to keep us going back to big pharma and utilizing their products?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of conspiracy theories, but I think pretty openly the government is, their position on a lot of different things. And it's not healthy for you and as an individual on it. And I don't know if things are changing or hopefully improving in that front. I would hope so. But the thing is, when we go through school, we're supposed to get an education. Doctors get an education. Teachers get an education. Engineers, lawyers, they all get an education. When you come out of the education, then you go into practice. In practice, you're being taught as an intern, as you come in, or a fellow as you come in, and you work through it. Well, you're indoctrinated still on a pattern of a way to practice the medicine. But the question is that healthy? Does it solve the problem? Does it address the root? Well, sometimes I really question that. But we've been taught to trust the authority who went through school to have the best interest at heart. I think where we lose it is, even though a doctor may have the best interest at heart for you, but is confined by a methodology that only he can operate in, or she. And that maybe only bandwidth is what they've been taught and know, until they step out of the box, basically, and go somewhere else and start looking at different approaches. I mean, like if you transplant over to or Chinese medicine or Asian medicine, or if you go to South America, you go to Japan, you go to different areas, and you can see healthcare is a various difference, but you also see healthcare in different countries. They're a lot more impactful than they are here. So one must question, well, do they really have our best interests at heart on it? And then, not to say everybody's out to get you, but you need to start at a point, are they? And do your own research.
Okay, so let's talk about that really quickly. So, does everybody know and understand that the FDA approves on average 45 to 55 new drugs every year? That's a lot of drugs to be passing out here in our US.
That doesn't surprise me. That doesn't surprise me.
Well, I mean, what for?
And why does it not surprise you, Emilie? Why does it not?
Well, to me, I just think that we're all about green, and it's all about money here. Unfortunately, that's where it went to. I do believe the physicians and doctors and everybody have a good, heart, and they want to help us. But I think they were just taught, certain ones were taught the typical drugs. That's how they make their money. That's how they make their profits, is to send out these drugs. And, there are some holistic doctors too, that go with, like William said, Chinese medicine and different things. And that's kind of what we got to look into now. Well, thankfully, they are spread out and they are around. Here in Texas, they have some in Dallas, and California has them. And I'm sure, St. Louis and everybody, has them. They might not be close, but I mean, that's what people are rerouting to, because who wants to be on a cocktail of drugs? I mean, my mom was on like 10 just to do different symptoms. Like one was to control this. And then one was, ooh, well, if you take this, you're going to have IBS. And if you take that, you're going to get a headache. And it's like, and then you're taking 10 drugs to calm the one with all the symptoms,
100%.
Sometimes you got to come back to neutral with that, because your system gets used to all these different things, but it also has the side effects. And are they really being effective or not? And the question is, I know the root, it may not be a root issue, but there may be roots. There's always something that's tying together. I know in several cases I've talked to people, it's like, you got to come off of that, and we got to go back to baseline and establish what is working. And sometimes I know our friend Sue has come off quite a bit of that. She didn't take any of that. She didn't take any statins or anything else. And she's actually in good health for 70-something years old. And that tells you something. Okay, so why are we taking so many different drugs, like Emilie is hitting at? Are they effective? Are they the best for our health? Are we seeing the whole picture in our health? Or we are seeing elements? Because I'll go to one specialist and go to another specialist and another specialist. Are they communicating? I know there's a lot of things that balls get dropped. I even had one drop with me just recently on it. Is because they're supposed to communicate, but they don't always communicate. So one might prescribe something that's going to impact your chemistry set in a certain way that's not healthy, and not knowing that they're going to do it. And then the thing about this is we got so many channels of promotion. Have we not figured out that everything is a funnel? Everything's a market ploy to put, even holistic, even supplements, any of that. Everybody claims things. Everybody wants to promote things. You have influencer says, I take this and I had this result. Everybody goes, buys it. Is that the best for you? Did you ask? Did you discern? You got a celebrity doctor that promotes this. functional medicine professional, conventional medicine, YouTube, Facebook, government. My friend said.
This is where the confusion comes in for people.
Exactly. That's what we're talking about.
Exactly. That's exactly what we're talking about. And how can we, because everybody who's here at the Nutrition Lab knows, you've been following me for the past 3 years, we're in season 3 here, that everything I do is based out of real food. We start with real food and we only supplement when we need to supplement. And then on the other side of that, I only supplement and speak upon those supplements that are actually true and have been tested. And I third party test every single thing that comes across.
She really does. She gets lab results of it and make sure all the ingredients are supposed to be what's in there, and then no placebos or things that are sneaky things that come in that you shouldn't have.
And I promise you, there's a lot of products out there that they're going to say that they're, 100% natural, and they're not, unfortunately. But you bring up a real interesting point, William. It's a business model.
Of course. That's what capitalism is. It's a business model.
I love your honesty. I love your honesty. So let's just be real. There's very little cure or very little, what do I want to say here? Very little money in a permanent cure, right? You have a permanent cure, you don't have doctors who are in business. You don't have pharmaceutical companies who are selling their drugs. So that's what we're here for. We want you to come back to the garden, right, William? That's where we want you to come back. And why do we want? I mean, I'm not the only one. That's why I bring you guys on, because I'm not the only one who wants to go back to natural, green, the garden. Why is that, William? Why do we want to do that?
Because our food industry is malnourishing everybody, and the soil is kaput.
And you want to elaborate on the soil? Because I know you know quite a bit about the soil side.
Well, I mean, even in the Bible, it tells you to give a land rest every 7 years. And you have to fertilize every year and turn it over, and you have to move fields. But the more you force a growth or a crop, the more you deplete the field. The more you deplete the field, the nutrients are depleted, and you're just eating substance that doesn't nurture the body at all. You don't get the nutrition. What we've done is we've killed the farmers off, basically, and condos are going up in place of it. We hadn't transferred the knowledge of farming from one generation to the next, so the next generation or 2 generations down the line, I don't have a farm, I don't have use for all this land, and I'm not going to mow it. And so they sell it to a contractor. Next thing you know, you got buildings. And so it's self-capitulating. And now we got food that is mass produced, and when it's mass produced, then whoever is in control of that controls the people, and they decide what you get. But
so do you think in the very beginning, years ago, that that was really the ultimate goal? Do you believe that was the ultimate goal?
I don't know. I can't speculate. I think if you go back 100 years, I think farmers made crop. Guys that had cows, they made trays. We bartered. I know, because I was around back then, not 100 years ago, but I was back, when I was young, and I know somebody churn butter. We need butter. Somebody need eggs, and somebody need corn. Somebody need beans or something like that. Well, we go to the market, and when we went to the market, we either exchange in money or we exchange in produce or goods on it. So at that point in time, there was not a big box farm, if you will, where you go and have all this thing cultivated, grown, forced out, and then put in cans and delivered to Walmart, for example. I didn't exist. What existed was the grocery stores, local farms, and food on the table that you can go to the farmer and talk to the farmer and get to know him. And it actually behooved you to do so, because now you know what was being fed to the animals, what was going into the ground, and all that. And I think, for me, every family that we enlighten with this, like this podcast, and let them know that still exists, well, what is now can actually go back to someone to what it is, and support your local farmer, support your local community. COVID taught us a big lesson. We were sitting with ships out in the harbor with goods and supply going to rot because we couldn't get them in because no one could work. Now we got the same thing what's going on with the war. Shit's out there and you can't get it. Well, I know where I live, we're pretty self-sufficient if we choose to be that way. And sometimes we got to get off our rump and get our hands dirty, but that's okay. It's good for you. Get out and get some sunshine. It helps your vitamin D level go up.
So let's go back just a little bit. About 100 years ago, as you said, 100 years ago, right? The primary, let's be real. The primary public health crisis at that time was the fact that we had malnutrition and starvation. That's what we had.
In the 20s?
Well, we're going back 100 years, 80 to 100 years. Let's just say 80 to 100 years.
You're talking about the Dust Bowl.
We're talking about that time frame, yes. Whenever we started to have the malnutrition, starvation, people just really couldn't get food, right? During that time frame, and about the Depression time frame, etc., right? Things happened up to that point, yeah. So coming out of the Great Depression and into World War II, our government mandated and was very clear. I hope I'm probably giving people a history lesson here. Here's what the quote was: "We must ensure we can produce as many cheap calories as humanly possible so the population doesn't starve."
Okay.
So here's what happened in the 1970s. The USDA Secretary Earl Butz, okay, he completely overhauled our agricultural policy in the 1970s. So this is where this really starts to come into play into
60s
today.
was the trigger. The 70s was the implementation of it. Yes.
Exactly. So here's the famous directive to the farmers: plant, quote unquote, fence row to fence row, and quote unquote, get big or get out. That was what he stated to our farmers. So that's subsidizing, transitioning, diverse family farms, industrialized monocropping, mass producing corn and soy. I mean, this is all right into your conversation, right, William? Everything you love to talk about. So
you de-incentivize the farmers to produce locally, and the incentives went down tax-wise. The crops were cheap. Why would you farm? Now we got genetically modified,
corn,
3D printed food.
Yeah.
For God's sake, everything away from God. But the Dust Bowl was triggered from lack of work, lack of money. It came after World War I.
Yeah.
We had the 20s, the roaring 20s, and then government also impacted that as well. Big government with FDR during that time. He was quite the guy. He was a good, he was instrumental in World War II, but before that, big businesses and him did not get along at all on it. So a lot of things did collapse, but still, even that happened, you could still go get seed, and you still go plant, and you can still grow your garden, and you still feed your food to your family.
Let's keep in mind, during that time frame, that was the only way you got your food. You either bartered with your local people.
You got through the soup lines and bread lines too. Now, if you go out to the Midwest in the Dust Bowl, really, then it's hard to grow a crop. But in the South, it's not so hard to do it. In the North, you do it at some point. You're a little further north, but you have to be careful about when to plant, when to harvest.
Right.
In those seasons, and everything has a different crop to produce within it, but still have the option. I know my grandparents, it was actually scarcity living, literally. For many people, it was very scarcity. What drove the Dust Bowl was a market collapse, Michelle.
Right, exactly.
Okay, and that's what the trigger was that started all that. But the thing is, that you went out and you made every piece of toilet paper count. You had rags that you wore out. You had boots, you had holes in it, but you still put rubber bands, straps, whatever you did. You did what you had to do to survive, and you did. My grandparents came through it, but they had a mindset of scarcity from that because they had to make everything count, and they did not know if they were going to get a meal tomorrow. But this is a little bit different philosophy. We still think that way. We have abundance everywhere, but it's been a generational transfer when that's taught that way too, and we can shift that. But I know one thing with God, He's abundant. And so you got to learn how to get alignment with Him and work with that because there's not scarcity. There may be some hard times. There may be seasons that we go through, but we have options. We just don't implement. We're aware of them. No one to show us and things like that. I mean, Michelle, you
Mm.
teach people how to grow crop. You know how.
That is exactly what I do here. Yes, I do teach people how to grow their own crops for many, many reasons, because again, that is where we are from. We came from a garden. We came from
Yes, we did.
knowing and being taught throughout generation to generation
Mhm.
how to actually grow our food. I mean, like you said, we've talked about this before on Mindful Nuggets that back in the day, many, many years ago, when we came from the garden, all we had was the stories that our families told us, right? So that's
Yeah,
how we learned and knew how to grow our crops as well.
yeah,
And
exactly.
if everybody is paying attention to this conversation and you go back to the history of where we've come from, we didn't have the disease processes that we have today.
I'm gonna go back to that thing. How many drugs were created each year?
It's averaging 7 to 8 per day, but it's 45 to
Okay.
55.
How many disease processes have been named since 1970 to now?
I guess we can find out. Let's
Okay.
ask.
And the reason why I'm going there is because we love to label things
We
and we
do.
create things in order, and then when we create things, we label them, then we got to create a drug for those things. And that was what I was wanting to drive home earlier is why aren't we getting to the root? Because we don't want to get to the root.
Why do we not want to get to the root, though?
Well, you said it already.
I did. Why don't we reiterate what I said?
It's a big, it's a, you know,
It's a
what
business.
does $1 trillion industry mean to you?
Yeah, means a
That's a
lot
big
to a lot of
number.
people.
And, when you got execs there making 10, 20, $100 million off of this, well, of course they want to keep their lifestyle. And of course they're going to keep promoting. And of course they don't keep the helm. That's big money.
Absolutely. 100%. So to answer your question, how many disease processes have actually been discovered since the 1970s? World Health Organization and the National Institute of Health, the WHO and the NIH, those scientists have discovered roughly 40 to 50 completely new novel infectious diseases since the 1970s. This includes
Infectious. That's not
infectious,
decay.
right?
That's not distortion or decay
No,
processes. We call them disease when things are in disorder and they start falling apart out of their natural processes in the human body. So I don't know. It's,
I mean
psychology.
let's go. Yeah, let's.
Psychology developed its own religion basically for
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean let's go through it. You have HIV/AIDS. That was back in the 80s.
80s.
Ebola,
Yeah,
Lyme's disease,
90s,
which is really prevalent this
a
year. I
lot.
mean, we've had a huge discussion, but again, we could have another topic all over that.
Where does it stem from?
Right. Exactly.
Where does it come from?
It comes from the tick. It comes from, and again, the deer. The deer,
Okay, but why do they spread it? Where are they getting it from?
from the
Where's the
earth.
root?
It's coming from the
From
earth.
what?
But it's also
Toxins?
right.
From what?
Right. It's coming from the
Okay,
toxins that are in the ground.
okay.
Absolutely.
You
Yeah.
should know that, right?
It's
I mean, that's
modifying
what you deal
our
with all the
insects.
time. It's all the toxins and stuff that's going in.
But it
That's
also could
Emilie
come
there.
from another country.
Oh,
It could also
absolutely.
come from another country, though.
Okay, but
Bring it right
they
over.
have to start from somewhere. Is the point. All right. How can we
Yeah.
have so many? How can we have so many disease processes? How can we have so many psychological disorders in the world? Where's the
Well, let's tap into one at a time. So
yeah?
again,
But
you have
I'm just saying
yeah,
your number is low in comparison, I believe, to what it truly is. And the more that it's basically an exponential scale. It's growing a lot, and that's what we're working on conveying is where does that stop, Michelle?
well, I mean, to kind of give people an idea of this conversation with how
Mm-hmm.
many diseases have come up since the 1970s, many people don't realize that there's a coding process to the medical side of the world. And back in
Okay.
the 1970s, the coding process was called ICD-8. That's International Classification of Diseases, right? So back in that time frame, there was a handful of biological diseases that emerged each decade. And the categories of those diseases have exploded exponentially, right? Since the
Okay. That's
1970s.
exactly. Okay.
So today, though, our ICD was a 10, and now we're an 11.
So
So
we
now
broke
we
the
contain
scale.
over 70,000 to 120,000 distinct diagnostic codes today.
Okay. There we go. That's what I was driving for. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is part of our conversation tonight. We're diving deep into the numbers because I want everyone out here tonight on YouTube, as you're watching this podcast and you come back to the replay, my goal is for you to really hear what is being said. There is a real money in this industry for you to eat the processed, the ultra processed foods, and to go to Emily's side of it, the chemicals. If you dive into the chemicals in your home, the shampoos, the body soaps, help me out here, Emily. What else should they be looking for? Because it's not just the food and how it's being processed, but it's the
Mm.
chemicals that they're being, brought into. You want to dive in for a few minutes there, Emily?
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, people are just like lazy and looking at the labels and just seeing the pretty packaging. Like a laundry detergent can be wrapped in something that's green or something that says natural or eco-friendly or whatever. And they just think, okay, well, it's on the shelf and it says eco-friendly and natural, so, it's safe. No, it's not. I mean, it's packed with synthetic fragrances, phthalates, um, SLS, parabens. It's just, and it's mimicking your estrogen in the body, and it's shutting down your thyroid and throwing your hormones all out of whack. And you can't just join the natural tribe and assume, corporations aren't trying to sell you a toxic greenwash garbage. Um, it's just, you really got to look at, the back. I mean, that's what they pay millions of dollars to make the packaging look beautiful. You got to turn it around and actually read the label on the back and see all the ingredients included into it. If you cannot pronounce this name, don't get it. That's a chemical. And you know what? There's tons of apps that you can download on your phone now and scan the barcode.
Ask Chat GPT.
I was
Also,
gonna say.
yeah. I mean, take your phone with you, download the apps, scan it. It will tell you exactly what chemicals are inside of there. Put it back on the shelf. Just because it looks pretty doesn't mean like, it's good for you. That's how they're hiding all the chemicals in it, is they're giving it, you know, every time. Now they have new chemicals for meat because meat is being lab grown now. And so they have these cool little, words that they say instead. So it makes it sound like, ooh, this is cool. This is nice. Let's try this. No, it's genetically modified and grown in a lab now. And
Well,
you just got to look out for those words.
it
Fragrance,
is
for
very
instance.
true.
Fragrance has over 100 or thousands of chemicals just in that word.
Confuse
It's
anybody.
scary. What was
It'll
that?
confuse anybody, and then that's the hope of it, is to confuse you and keep you from actually investigating. Well, you can't even pronounce half of it.
And
You
people
can't,
get, and that's what I
and you're
help
in the
with. People
grocery
get,
store in a hurry. Yeah,
yeah,
Okay,
it
so
exactly.
I
gets
want
People
to
you.
get
address something.
overwhelmed.
I do want to address something that you said because of the lab grown meat, right? And this
Mm.
is again part of this conversation tonight. So for everyone out there, if you're wondering if your meat is lab grown to any specific, we'll leave that word alone. I can't even say it. Not tonight anyway. It's called cell cultivated,
Yes.
and it's mainly in your chicken right now is where that's at. They're using cell cultivated chicken, and it says it on the packaging, cell cultivated chicken. It will not be on the front of the packaging. It
Mm.
will be on the back of the packaging, and it will be in very small words, cell cultivated chicken. Okay.
I always will
So
share that I share all that stuff on Instagram. So on my
Well, why don't you
stories, I'll share
explain
all
what
that
that
stuff.
really means, Michelle, for the audience? It's still cultivated and manufactured. I mean, I get it, but what does that truly mean? Is that hormonal injection? Is it augmented? Is it synthetic? What is it?
So I'm going to pull up the real details to that because it can
You
be,
should.
it can be several different ways that this is done. Okay, so you have the cell harvest. All right, so that process begins by taking a small sample of cells from a living animal, like chicken or cow, and they do that through a biopsy, right? And then there's the cultivation phase that comes next. So those cells are actually placed on a high-tech stainless steel vessel, which is called a bioreactor. Inside that, they feed a nutrient-dense fluid, a culture medium, and that mimics the animal's blood, containing amino acids, vitamins, sugars, and proteins. Excuse me. Then there's the growth factor. That comes next. So the bioreactor provides the exact warmth and oxygen levels that is necessary to trick those cells into thinking that they're still inside the animal. Okay? The cell multiplies rapidly, eventually forming muscle fibers, fat cells, and connective tissue. Now, I'm getting grossed out just telling
I'm
you
going
how
to
the
throw up right
process
now.
works.
Oh my
Oh
gosh.
my gosh.
So
I'm
man's
like
playing
sick
God.
to my stomach. This just makes me so sick.
Yeah, man's
Can't
We're not
playing
they
God.
done. Let's
In
can't
talk
order
they
to
about
use
the
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 masses.
harvest.
cells? Are they able to use the cells from like sick animals, like animals that had, diseases and stuff?
Well, the hope is that you won't use those, right? I
Oh,
mean,
right, but
Accordingly,
still.
but again, I mean, are you testing this animal before you kill this animal to pull the cells? I mean, I'm just asking.
Yeah, I know. I don't
well,
know.
from a nutrition level, the whole word was mimic,
Yeah, mimic.
right?
It's all mimic. Yeah.
It's mimic. So it's not natural in any way, fashion.
No,
Mm-mm.
no, because
Okay.
it says
So,
once the tissue is grown, the cells are harvested, shaped, and
right.
packaged into what looks like
So
and cooked and
life
tasty.
was taken
Ugh.
in order to create lifeless in a mock-up, correct? Am
Right.
my interpretation of that
100%.
good?
Mm.
Okay. And so, so I can create a tree, I can create a leaf, create a vegetable, but it will never stack up to the nutrition of what God put on this green earth.
No.
Yet the doctrine is to feed the masses the maximum amount of calories. And when we say calories, they're empty calories a lot of times. They have no nutrients. So,
Mm-mm.
okay, so if I was an engine, all right, and I'm used to having high octane gas in my tank, and I run very well, and then I slap some nasty crud in it, my engine is going to go, and that's it.
Which is what's happening today.
Okay, so this is what, just to give a good analogy of what we're talking about here. God gave food that actually for your body to work properly, efficiently, as it was meant. And now we're putting stuff in it that has no nutritional value. So we're in this huge oxidative stress cycle that continues to go on and on and on. Now we got strokes, heart attacks, diabetes, diseases, blah, blah, blah.
It's all the
And we
chemicals
throw
that
chemical,
spraying.
we throw, yeah, well, it destroys the blood-brain barrier. And so we get
Mm-hmm.
worms. It brings back the Pink Floyd song. The
Oh,
worms went to his brain. Anyway, and then we get all the toxins there outside because the skin is the biggest organ that we have in our body. And so now we go wash it with, some things that I'm not going to say any particular detergent, but soaps, clothes, even clothes fibers, synthetic. You absorb those into, and they're oil, and they're not meant. That type of oil is not meant to be introduced in your body. So now you're already creating friction there. Yet we don't. We're not aware of this. And I know this is the main reason you're doing these podcasts, and we need more like that out here to educate people. Now, what you wear and what you eat is your choice, of course. But if you want to live a better life, a better quality life, and actually have better relationships with other people because you're reaching out to get, farm-grown food, go down to a local grocery store, meet people, create different networks, and you create a good community, you get civic duty and all those things in it. Now you're starting to line back to what God's plans are. I guess what? You don't come out of some scarcity. You don't come back into some living in abundance.
100%. That
Yeah,
is
and
so spot on.
it is a pattern that fruits. comes from it. You don't force it. It happens automatically. But we're going so far out of the field into the weeds so deeply. We're asking for our own problems, and we're getting them.
Oh,
We're seeing
okay.
them.
So this is coming to me, and we need to talk about it. So weeds, where in relationship, I know you know this, I'm not going to know it. That's why I'm asking you. Where in the relationship to the Bible does Jesus speak upon the weeds, or God speak upon the weeds in the garden?
Well, he speaks about seeds in the weeds. The weeds choke it out.
Right.
All right. The ground must be fertile, meaning the environment. And that's not just the soil. We're talking about humanity, people themselves.
Right.
The environment has to be right to cultivate a good, a tree. Take it for example. You want a good, healthy tree, you plant it, you tend to it, you steward it. You're not responsible for how tall it gets, how big it gets, but you do your job. Let God worry about the growth or the harvest itself. But if you put it in the right place and you align to His ways, that tree's gonna grow. And I bet you it will not even grow, but you'll have an orchard from it over time. And that's a legacy left behind. But the way we're doing it, it kills. It dies off. It's choked out. It's trampled out. However you want to put it. It's not
I like the
natural.
part where you say choked out, because I want to go back really quickly before we wrap up tonight. And we're going to leave people with a thought, so that next week when they come back and we bring our professional doctor on to go a little deeper with this conversation. We were talking about the cell cultured foods, right? So the Food and Agriculture Organization, along with the World Health Organization, has released a very comprehensive global report. Everybody can go read it. And it details how there is 53 potential health hazards associated with cell cultivated foods.
Again,
53.
we create our own mess. And for what?
Because
By
that will
some
keep people
doctrine that
sick.
said fence to fence, get rid of the small farms, feed them empty calories.
So
And
let's talk about it really quickly.
money.
But money, right?
Profit.
I mean, let's talk about, because this actually goes right into what Emily and I speak upon. So the cells do not have an immune system. Okay, a liver or kidneys, none of that's there to filter out toxins, right?
Right. That's what I'm saying. To me, it's inorganic from organic.
Absolutely.
It's just, it exists. That doesn't mean it's good for you. But how do you even know that in the first place? Is the whole point. Why are you kept in the dark? Why aren't you getting education?
Well, I want to know why there's not more questions asked by people as a whole. Why are we not asking more
I can answer
questions?
that because they're so busy trying to live, they can't stop and think for themselves.
Right. People are really busy, and they just they're used to a routine, Oh, I'm going to get this. I'm used
Busyness
to this. I'm used
creates
to this.
what?
Yeah.
It creates
Busyness creates
nothing.
chaos.
And sickness.
Chaos leads to
So
sickness.
it's self-perpetuating. You're so tied up, so busy, you can't think for yourself. And then guess what? Well, I can do whatever I want.
Well, yeah, absolutely. You can do whatever you want, but when
How many
you're
people
coming
follow the
up,
FDA, Michelle? How
well,
many people? How many people know how many diseases coming up? How many people even know what that you just talked about? The abomination of some sort of generated cultivation of cells. But not many people know. They go to the store because they need to eat. They don't farm.
yeah.
They don't know better, and they're working on trying on provide for their family, doing the best they can. It's only until one day that you hit the wall and you got all this disease process and all these drugs, and you ask yourself, how did I get here? Then that's when things change.
I
Well,
think they pretty
exactly.
much know. I think they know why they got there.
They know how they got there, right?
Okay, but see, people will change not the behaviors, because behaviors is junior to the identity they live. And most of us live an identity to a role and not who. They live it to what. And so when you're living to an identity of that, then you're carrying out the doing process without the being is out of the equation. And so we're in this squirrel cage, basically going around and around and around until that thing breaks. And so people will
Right.
change when pain gets too much or the
Mhm.
vision is so big. There's only two things that happen. Everything else is an interruption to your life, and you don't want to change because we don't like to change.
Mm-mm.
We
Okay,
resist
so
change.
let's enlighten then this conversation even more so. You asked how many people actually follow the FDA, and then that landed us to this part here where people are too busy, they're in chaos, they don't, they just
Mhm.
keep going and going, right? They're not in the being, they're in the doing. Okay. Here's the thing. 78% of Americans report that they find it incredibly confusing to follow the FDA.
Do you think that's on purpose?
Absolutely.
Okay.
100%.
Do you think it's on purpose? We put some sort of only a biochemist would know what those words are on the back of the label?
Absolutely.
Are you cellularly educated on how those interface and how they work together?
And you know that 90% of Americans are not educated to that level, which is why we are
So
here
I,
tonight and why we
I,
will continue to be
I
here.
go to a store to buy chicken. I hope it's a real chicken,
You
but
have
I
to
know
look on it. I
I
mean,
know
you
the
can't
chicken
just
breasts
buy
are
a
like
chicken.
2 times bigger than what I got when I was like 15. So something changed.
There's
Has
Our
stuff in
kids,
that stuff.
our,
There's stuff in that chicken
our kids
with
are now
fillers.
like 6'5", and back when we were growing up, 6 foot was a miracle. so,
Hormones and what they're giving them to eat. Oh man, it's if you get a really
so
big chicken, that's why.
I
But
know,
I'm
but
saying though, has anybody paid attention to the chicken lately? Because the chicken breasts are bigger than they've ever been.
yeah,
No,
and they're
unless you get
sinewy.
organic. Organic is smaller,
Is
and there's
it
a
is.
reason. I'm like, can you compare these reasons of why this one's bigger?
It's a great example. And when you get the big chicken breast and you chew on it, it's like leather.
It is.
That's not the chicken I grew up with. And so I got to ask myself, what's going on? And I'm going to investigate. And then I find out, well, they're cultivating chickens. They're sticking stuff in it. They're making them grow. They're making them grow so fast, it's not natural. And to qualify for organic, federal regulations, and that I may be wrong here, but you only need to have like a certain percentage amount to qualify for the whole farm to be organic, as long as you keep within those specs. But that means only that small amount goes to a small amount of people. The rest of the stuff is not organic. It goes to the rest of the people that receive that. So there's little games that are played.
Mm-hmm.
You got to read between the lines, folks. And it really is. It gets very confusing. Michelle, I know you have an equation at least to start getting on the right track. I have my own for discernment, but this you go with yours, and I think you start with like CERFO. And I think the only thing I would add to it, if you wouldn't mind, is put an O in front of the C for observation, like the chicken. My observation is there's something wrong with this chicken.
I mean, that's where you should start is looking at your food
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
and realizing that that is not what it used to look like. I've never seen them be this size before. And what is it that's going on? And to answer that, 69% of Americans explicitly believe. Now, I really was hoping this number would be higher, but it is not. 69% of Americans explicitly believe that foods containing pesticides or artificial dyes are unsafe to eat. Why are we not 100%
Not everybody
believing?
knows yet. I mean, that's high. It's higher than probably it was. A lot of people are getting exposed and knowing. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of more people on social media talking about it
Yeah.
now than I
Even
did like
Washington,
10 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, you know?
And I'll agree
nobody
with you on
paid
that. The next
attention.
question is, though, is why are you not making the changes? Why are you watching? Why are you speaking upon it? but you're not making the changes? Why are you not going back to the garden? Why are you not going back to your farmers? Why are you not going back to your growers?
Right.
That's the big question I want to
That's
leave
the
with
biggest
everyone.
question is you don't walk up to, a 10,000 acre farm and demand them to quit.
Yeah.
They're going to laugh at you. So if they're going to laugh
We
at you,
should
and
be,
what they
though,
will, like,
anything that those
what they
farmers quit
will,
But
producing
we
that
need
way.
we need answers. So people right now, drop your answers drop them down. Why aren't you changing? If you know all this stuff, or you didn't know
you
it,
can
but you do know
petition,
some, why
you
aren't you
can do all
changing
those
it?
things. If you, and that's a voice. We have freedom of speech. We have a voice. Use it. Now you can say, well, I'm never going to buy from this 10,000 acre farm anymore. I've got my local farmer I'm going to support. Goodbye. And then when you cut the money out of it, then you cut the head off the snake. That's how it always had worked from time beginning to now.
Hmm. Wow. So we need to get back to the garden. We need to get back to
Every
the
one of us
garden.
need
We
to
need to
come
get
back
back
and
to
start thinking small changes, small steps. Pick
right.
something, one thing, just pick one thing
Yep.
that you're going to do research on and see that's a healthier choice for it. Just one. And if you look
Exactly.
back in a year, you'll start noticing multiple things change. Your diets change. You start living better. You have more energy, more vibrant, and you're coming back into alignment with God's plan for you anyway. But it takes small steps, and it's up to you to do that.
Yes.
All right. Well, Emily put the challenge out there for everybody. Get in those comments and tell us why you're not making those changes. What is it that is stopping you from going back to your garden, going back to finding those local farmers, going back to your local growers? And make sure that you join us next week because we will be speaking upon those answers that will be in the comments tonight, as we will have a doctor joining us next week. And Emily and William, I hope that you will return back next week as well so that we can continue this conversation. I believe that this conversation has been very eye-opening for many people out here. As Emily said, 10 years ago, these conversations were not near to the capacity that they are today. You will see people talking repeatedly about, what's good for you, what's not. The confusion comes in when you don't know who to believe. That's where the confusion comes in. And that is why we are here at the Nutrition Lab each and every Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. on the East Coast. If you have not joined us and subscribed on YouTube here at the Show Me Nourish Nutrition Lab, please do so and be back next week with us again as we continue this conversation. It's definitely one that's going to bring back some controversy for sure. But I want everyone to know and understand that here at Show Me Nourish, we do have the capability of getting you into that next step. I've spent the past 12 years building a list of farmers and local growers and teaching you how to grow your own food so that you can heal, treat, and prevent chronic illness and disease. And that is why I'm joined here every week with Emily as she goes and she speaks upon other things that you can utilize and get those chemicals out of your home. Stop buying those products that are quote unquote saying they're chemical free or that they don't have those things in them, but they do. And Mr. Williams probably going to try and join us as much as he can on Wednesdays as well, or I'm hoping he is. So get in those comments and tell him you want him back next week and continue to be here as we continue to move forward with these conversations. Again, my name is Michelle Rawls, and I am the owner and founder of Show Me Nourish, and we are here to help you have good informed decisions and choices to your health and longevity and quality to life. So, Mr. William, thank you for being with us tonight. I really appreciate it each and every time you're here so we can have these conversations because you definitely make the conversation have a thought process and how we actually need to think and grow and build, right? And Ms. Emily,
No, it's
we'll be
just
back next
Michelle.
week.
Thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity to be on this particular show, and it's important. The work you do is very, very important. And one thing you can ask yourself, what is claimed? The very first thing I think, is it true?
Mm-hmm.
And if it's true, then the next question is, does it actually fit in my life, and does it impact my life in a good way? Learn to be discerning, and
Right.
not just impulse and not just trust. Ask Michelle. She just told you she's 13 years. She dropped almost dead on the floor from cancer, and she has lived a vibrant life. She's learned so much. She works with a lot of doctors. She has a lot of information. A lot of doctors confer to her
I do
for
have a
the
lot of doctors that
information.
concur with me, yes.
Yeah, they
I don't know if
do.
that's a good thing to say out there, but it is. They do call me and get, the
Well, not
education.
everybody is cellular level nutritionist, but more so than just that, it's learning God's ways and knowing how they work together and how it helps the body. And I know you've helped a lot of people, so I just want to say thank you. What the work you're doing is very important, and also Emilie as well, with everything that she's telling you to get out of your house and keep you from poisoning yourself. We're so toxic, we might as well just be coming out of a nuclear reactor for everything that's out there, and we probably look like it. So
Well, yeah, exactly. So we're gonna dive deeper next week, and I just hope you guys will be back with me. I'm pretty sure you will. So I'm grateful for each and every one of you for coming here and being with us tonight. We're gonna go ahead and remind you that it's healing one bite at a time. So we'll see you
Amen.
back